What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you my Earth Machine deck profile that I took to the OneUpTCG Tournament of Champions this past weekend in Mendenhall, Mississippi. It was a huge tournament in the sense that it didn't have like that many players, but it was invite only, so you had to actually top one of his previous events, which are usually pretty big, like case tournaments for new sets and things, and you get upwards of like 50-60 players. I know like we did a 3v3 with like 18 teams. And that's how we got invited. And yeah, it was a 2-day event, which means you played Saturday, a full day of Swiss. It was 7 rounds. And then Top Cut Sunday. So me and Mason actually made Top Cut, and I'm going to go over my deck and how it performed on that day specifically. A more in-depth profile is already on the channel. Maybe it has a few different changes, but if you want to hear a very in-depth explanation of this deck profile, link around here. You know, the card pops up. But yeah, I just want to go over my Earth Machine deck because it performed really well, and I'm really happy with it. I ended up going X1-1 at the end of Swiss, which put me 4th in Swiss. Like after Swiss, I was 4th place, so that's pretty nice. And yeah, I ended up going into the top 16 and just losing out in top 16, which is unfortunate, but I'll explain all my rounds, kind of how that happened. I go over it more in the vlog that will be uploaded soon after this. So yeah, I also have combos for this deck. If you don't really know how the deck functions and after you watch the profile you want to learn some combos, link as well in the description. So without further ado, I'll explain the deck profile more, how it performed that day, and my choices I made and why I made them. So yeah, starting off with the very standard 10 Infinitrack monsters, you have the 3 Harvester, the 3 Dozer, the 2 Trencher, and 1 Tunneler, and 1 Anchor Drill. This is a very standard ratio. I think this is the go-to. I have played builds with only 1 Trencher. However, in a lot of grind games, you really do want the second one. It's another target off of box. It's another level 5 you can make for River Stormer in case you don't get there in your first combo or you have to shuffle it back. Very standard. This is just your main 1-card combo is to get to Dozer through, you know, Harvester or any way to get to Harvester or Metal Cruncher. But yeah, this is like a very standard 10 Infinitrack lineup. Yeah, this is what you want to rock, essentially. You can go down to 1 Trencher, I think, but that's really all the leeway you get for the Infinitrack engine. Then we have the 3 Metal Cruncher. He's arguably the best starter in the deck, him or Harvester, because they're the 1-card starters because they get you to Dozer. And Metal Cruncher just, you know, he has a lot of uses past that. Like if you already open your Dozer, you can end up getting level 10s or whatever else you need to like go past your standard combo. And I had Metal Cruncher searching a level 10, honestly, maybe as many times as I had him search Dozer, because going for like Super Dora plays or Gustav Max, Liba is just very good depending on whether you're going first or second. 1 Fortress and 1 Citadel. I only had room for 1 Fortress in this list. I think in my previous list I played 2. Yeah, we only played 1, and I don't think I missed the second one. I mean, you technically have 4 because of Machina redeployment. He is a very good card going second, and a very good combo piece and extender going first. I luckily didn't play against any Shaddoll Invoked. I'll explain more of that when I go into my matchups, and that's where I really like Fortresses against that matchup. So luckily 1 definitely worked out for me, and then Citadel, of course, he played 1, and yeah, he was, of course, an all-star all day. And then the biggest change I made for this list, and the happiest, or I guess it made me the happiest, but it was the best decision I made, was adding back the secondary crane so I can run 3 level 10 trains. Yeah, when I get to the extra deck, I'll like expand on this a little bit, but putting the secondary crane back was the best decision I could have made. He is one of the best cards, and more importantly, it means when you activate Metal Cruncher, you are guaranteed to get a level 10 in your hand if you didn't start with 1. Like, and that's so important because it means River Stormer can search the other one. When I was running 1 Dairy Crane, there were often times where I just couldn't get to Super Dora or to Gustav Max if I needed him. And yeah, adding the secondary crane was very important, and it technically was over the second Fortress, but this is a change I'm very happy I made for the weekend, and yeah, it's probably going to stay like that. And then, of course, we have the 1 box, which you kind of have to play, because he is one of your main combo pieces for Ballista. On to engine spells, we have 3 Machina redeployment, of course, one of your best starters, you're always playing that. 3 heavy forward. I guess the only thing I have to say here is that Machina redeployment is usually good because it can also go for the Enter Blathnir play. I did not open Enter Blathnir like all day. I never made Enter Blathnir all tournament. Not because I didn't open redeployment. I opened redeployment often, but it was like the Enter Blathnir play is very easy to interrupt. Like one Gamma can kill your follow-up too because you have to pitch Harvester for Fortress. And I just didn't want to play that risky, so I didn't go for Enter Blathnir at all, and it definitely worked out. It is a play you can go for, and sometimes I attempted but got stopped by hand trap, so yeah, so that's heavy forward was essentially just to get into my combo, and no Enter Blathnir plays happened there. And then 2 Urgent Schedule. This was definitely a good card. Not as good as it was in testing. There were definitely times where this card was just average, but still one of the most fantastic cards. Definitely was one of the best top decks all day if I was in a top deck war. Amazing Blowout goes second. I never drew it going first when I got Gamma'd. In my top 16 match, if I did have this card just a turn earlier when he Gamma'd me, we would have been okay, but yeah, nothing you can do about it. That is one of the best things about this card, though, is the fact that it's Gamma deterrent. The fact that they can Gamma you while you're doing your first turn combo, and then suddenly you can activate Urgent Schedule turn 1. But this card was really good going first, just like as a set every now and then. Like in simplified game states, this card is just amazing, and it was overall super, super good. Definitely not mad I played Urgent Schedule. And then 1 Call by the Grave, pretty standard. And then for traps, we have 3 Machina Overdrive. That is it for traps. I was not playing a trap-heavy list for this event. I've definitely played more trap-heavy versions of Earth Machine. But with how many Drytron we saw, I definitely decided to go more of a hand trap route, which is next up for the list is hand traps. So I'm just playing 3 Overdrive for traps, no Trap Trick, no Torrentials, no Strikes. I do enjoy playing those cards in this deck because they're just really good, but for this event and how many Drytrons and the competitive nature of it, I wanted to just put as many hand traps as my flex spots as possible, so that is what we did. But yeah, Overdrive, just pretty much the best trap in the deck possible to run because it is absurd. And then on the hand traps, we had the 3 Ash Blossom. We questioned playing her in one of my builds because she's just not super impactful by herself, but her paired with other hand traps is usually very, very nice, and you want to see like 2 hand traps usually if you can. 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Infinite Impermanence. This was always going to be kind of the case, was 2 Veiler, 3 Imperm with, like this deck's at 42, so I didn't really want to bump it up to 43 just to play a 3rd Veiler, but these Imperm and Veiler just feel like the best hand traps versus Tri-Brigade and Drytron when you're actually playing, because stopping Mu Beta or Diviner with these cards is very, very good. And now, because of the recent trend that picked up sort of the week before this event, was the fact that Drytron are playing Dragoon more often now, you kind of needed one of these to stop Verte as well, which makes it really toxic because it feels like sometimes you have to open 3 hand traps to stop Drytron. And then a change we made the day before, which I think I regret, is maining 3 Droll. So these were previously bells, 2 bells in an Imperial Order, but I decided to put in Droll last minute. In fact, every single one of my friends that also went to the event, we all decided to main Droll the night before, because when we went to the LCQ on Friday, because one of our friends was trying to get his invite, we saw too many Drytrons, so we were like, okay, we'll main Droll, and it did come up round 7. I did open this game 1 versus a Drytron player, but other than that, it was kind of bad all day, and I kind of wish it was Bell. You know, I don't know how much that says, because I think maining Droll is not like a terrible option, but I think in my case, it just turned out to not be great, and I played 3 Drytron in Swiss, so I played a lot of Drytron, just it didn't really come up. I either stopped them with my regular hand traps, or Droll wasn't enough because they made Dragoon. Which again, that is the biggest change of like the last week that trended towards this week, was the fact that Dragoon is more popular in Drytron now. Extra deck really quickly, so we have 3 Goliath, 1 Ballista, 2 double-headed Anger Knuckles. This is pretty standard. Some people play 1 Anger Knuckle, but I like to be able to make him even if one's engraved, so I can more easily use his other effect. So, yep, that's all the links. And then for Xyz, we have 1 River Stormer, just your main combo piece, 1 Gaia Dragon. This is really nice, easy Zeus plays, and all your stuff comes back in defense, so if you need damage, Gaia Charge is really good. There was a game where I had River Stormer in attack position, but my board equaled 7,900 damage, so I was just able to overlay Gaia Dragon because I hadn't used Dozer yet, and then that was perfect 8,000. It was pretty funny. 1 Dingirsu, because he comes up with your Anchor Drill in your box, and he comes up very often because you kind of like lead your hand to be able to do that by searching box and box search Anchor Drill. And he's one of the best follow-up plays, either for sending cards or protecting your board or making like 6 material Zeus in some situations, so that's really nice. 1 Earth Slicer, 1 Enter Blathnir. Both of these didn't really come up often. Every time I summoned Earth Slicer, he got negated by something. But that's kind of his job, so no surprise there. Then we have the rank 10s being Super Dora, Gustav Max, and Juggernaut Liba. So this package was definitely MVP. I think I say this in all my profiles, how the rank 10 engine is always my favorite. But that's usually because Super Dora going first is amazing. However, I did not make Super Dora going first often because my opponents, like every opponent I played against, essentially had 2 hand traps in their hand every single time, which was really unfortunate, but we were still able to, of course, do really well, which is nice. But the real MVP was Gustav Max. So this deck, you do a lot of searching. You draw cards, so you have to shuffle kind of often. And you're a grind deck, so the deck just naturally takes forever. And I played matchups like Eldlich as well as Prank Kids, and those matches were just going to take forever. And Gustav Max being able to burn in time was a fantastic win condition. But besides time, Gustav Max burned for 2k, overload Juggernaut Liba, and then he's huge and can swing at things. These cards won me too many games. They were definitely the all-stars of the extra deck. Gustav Max, main MVP all weekend for sure. I think I won with Gustav Max like 5 games, not like 5 rounds, but 5 games for sure. Like sometimes I would just leave them at 2,000 or lower, and Gustav just burned them in main phase 2 for game. So yeah, definitely the all-star package of the extra deck, and then the 1 Zeus, which he did come up to Outer Dragoon. He's just a really good card in this deck because you can make him naturally with like Harvester and Dairy Crane. So yeah, very, very impactful card in this deck. And of course you can make 6 material Zeus that can't be destroyed by card effects. I unfortunately didn't get to make that. I think the biggest Zeus I made was 4 materials with Dingirsu, but you can make 6 material Zeus that can't be destroyed by card effects. So side deck. The biggest thing in the side deck that changed was originally I was siding Droll, so I essentially sided what my main deck was previously out for Drolls, and that's why I have 2 Bells in the side deck. Normally this wouldn't be a big side deck choice for me. I'd either want to main it or not run it at all. But she did come up. Like, I actually played a Code Talker in round 5 or 6. I don't remember which one specifically. But yeah, she actually was able to negate, I think it was a Splash Mage, and then he had to go Transcode Talker the normal way without Update Jammer, and wasn't able to kill me, and then I was able to come back with Juggernaut Liba and win the game. So she did come up, and I sided her often, which is nice. And then 1 Jizukiru, never drew him, but I sided him a lot. The idea is you can play 1 because he's searchable off Urgent Schedule and recyclable off Bullet Train, and I wanted to maximize side deck space, so just 1 of him. He's great in theory. The only time I did use him all day, though, was I pitched him for Fortress, so that's what he did. 3 Dark Ruler No More. Just a crazy good go second board break card, and that kind of covers the board break cards. Yeah, so 3 Dark Rulers. I sided it a lot, drew it 0 times, so that's about where that card is. And then we had some back row destruction, Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Twin Twister, and Red Reboot. Oh my goodness, there's a car honking outside. But yeah, sided these against any matchup where back row was good, or Prank Kids. Definitely sided in Twin Twister against Prank Kids. Sided it in going second a lot, just in case they were siding Floodgates. And I sided it versus the Eldlich matchup, so yep, definitely a package I would keep. I think Twin Twister was the best out of all of them, surprisingly, but that's just because it has more versatility than just being good against hard back row decks. And then for go first, we had the Imperial Order 2 Anti-Spell. Yeah, I sided these pretty much every game I went first. And then the best card in my side deck was Different Dimension Ground. Every time I drew this, it was a skip for their turn, and I was able to win the next turn. Like, this card was so bonkers. I sided it going first against every deck. If you're, like, new to Earth Machine or you haven't played it often, you might initially think that DDG doesn't make a lot of sense in the deck because you're very graveyard focused, but at most usually end up losing if they're able to play or try to play through it, you'll lose a double-headed Anger Knuckle at most, unless you try to summon Super Chest Bullet Train, and then you're losing that as well. But this hurts them infinitely more than you, and you can just make another double-headed Anger Knuckle. And yeah, usually that didn't even happen. Like, my Knuckle didn't even die when I had this active because they just couldn't play through it. It was impossible for them. So definitely the best card in the side deck. And I guess to talk about my rounds, so at the end of day 1, I was X1-1, so I won 5, lost 1, drew 1. Round 1, we played against Prank Kids, and that one went forever. It went the whole distance, and then in time I burned him for 2,000 with Gustav Max. So we burned a Prank Kids player in time. That is pretty much justice. Round 2 was against Drytron. I picked this one up. I don't remember anything memorable about that game, but it's really hard to remember the matchups and specifics in them because, yeah, I mean, it was just a long time ago. At this point, it's Monday, and I played this Saturday. Round 3, I played against another Drytron, in which we took that one, and then round 4, I played against Drytron, and I lost, and then round 5, we played against Code Talker. No, round 5 we played against Tri-Brigade, in which I won. Round 6 we played against Code Talker. Actually, hold up. Round 4 I didn't play against Drytron. I lost round 3 to Drytron, and then round 4 I played the Tri-Brigade. Round 5 I played the Code Talker. Round 6 I played Eldlich, and we drew. That was my draw. Is we were in game 2. He won game 1. We were in game 2. We were in like 2 minutes left on the clock, and he was at like 2100 or something, like 2900, and I was at 1200. And in main phase, I was able to burn with Gustav Max and put him at 900, and then time was called, so we got a draw there. So yeah, that was pretty good. And then last round, I played against Drytron, and I 2-0'd him. That round 7 was the game I opened the Droll and Lockbird main deck, and round 2, he kind of bricked, and I had a good hand. So yeah, unfortunate, but the dude I beat that I 2-0'd round 7, he actually got second place, so it didn't turn out too bad for him. And then we go into top 16 the next day. I play against Tri-Brigade round 1, which I'm pretty confident in my Tri-Brigade matchup. I mean, I'm maining 5-effect Balers, and my deck generally usually does pretty well against them. But this man opened the complete stones. I mean, like, he had 2 hand traps, game 1 being Imperm Gamma, which in that hand I couldn't play around 2 hand traps because one of them was Gamma. Gamma is always been a weakness for this deck, but a lot of times you can play through like 1 Gamma, especially if you draw Urgent Schedule. But Ash Gamma was able to get there, and then I have like 2 hand traps, and I still have like board presence in the form of Dairy Crane, but he just drew like the complete stones along with the 2 hand traps, and his Desires drew good cards as well, so I was like, okay, you got that one, I can't come back. And then game 3, he opened Ash, Gamma, DD Crow. I actually played around Ash and Gamma, and I was still able to make my Tunneler play, but he crowed my Trencher, which was how I got there. So I was like, okay, you open 3 hand traps. How am I supposed to play around that? And then he summons Cat. I Ash his Cat. So I'm like, okay, you open 3 hand traps, and I ashed your play. Like, what else could you have? And he activates Desires and draws Kit and Karass. So there was nothing I could do. I literally got sacked out of my mind, which is an unfortunate end because I performed like pretty well with the deck, and I was really happy with how it performed overall. But what can you do? Sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh happens. That's just how it is. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile and just me talking about like my rounds and how I did. If you're a fan of Earth Machine, feel free to hit that like button, maybe subscribe, and yeah, hope to see you around for future Earth Machine content. This was Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.